Speed limit change on WinterGarden Vineland Road. Gotha community advocates rally against Turnpike forces. Orange County Public Schools disable your comments. And a big loss to the preservation of our local environment. The date is September 30th, 2021. We're going to go through these stories and more. Welcome to West Orange on the Go. My name is Austin Arthur, and this is where we do local news and comment. And when I say local news, I mean hyper-local. West Orange. This is your news. We begin in 10 seconds.
You're listening to West Orange on the Go. Brought to you by the West Orange Times and Observer. Hosted by Austin Arthur. West Orange on the Go.
The speed limit on WinterGarden Vineland Road was lowered at the Orange County Board of County Commissioners meeting Tuesday morning. The speed limit will change from 55 miles per hour to 45 miles per hour between Apopka Vineland Road and Chase Road. Orange County District 1 Commissioner Nicole Wilson announced the speed limit update on her Facebook page Monday, September 27th. Quote, "We have heard your concerns and have implemented a decrease in the speed limit on WinterGarden Vineland Road." End quote. In other news surrounding WinterGarden Vineland Road, the United Cerebral Palsy of Central Florida cut the ribbon last week on its new charter school campus there. Now, this is a relocation campus. They provide charter school education and a model that creates an environment where students with any disability can learn alongside children without disabilities. In addition to classrooms, the 8-acre campus offers therapy and counseling services that are not limited to members. The full story by Jim Carchidi is in this week's paper. The city of WinterGarden has officially proclaimed October as Outdoor Dining Month. Throughout the month of October, the city is encouraging residents to enjoy the fall weather and grab a local bite to eat outdoors. Now, I must say, I personally am very excited about the coming weather. With that being said, even when it is hot outside, you can still come inside and enjoy sports activities for your youth. That is at our sponsor. It is my gymnastics facility, as a matter of fact. My brother and I opened it in 2014, right where the old Kmart used to be in WinterGarden, right on 50. Gymnastics USA. Home of the positive approach. This next story is a tough one. The Windermere High School community is mourning the death of one of its students, Madison Trover, 17 years old, died unexpectedly on Saturday, September 25th. Maddy's aunt, Kelly Trover Di Giovanni, wrote, quote, "Maddy was such a sweet and compassionate girl who loved race cars, just like her daddy. Her dogs, crazy family and friends. We are truly devastated and will forever feel her absence, but have faith that she is at peace in heaven with our Lord and Savior." She continues on. "We ask that prayers be lifted for our family as we begin this new journey without our beautiful Madison Raven, and are sincerely finding it impossible to let her go. Hug them tight, parents." End quote. There is a GoFundMe fundraiser to cover funeral and memorial expenses. We have placed that link in the description. If you would like to donate to this cause, this family who is suffering what no parents should ever suffer. The next story. The Gotha Rural Settlement Association is hoping to persuade Florida's Turnpike enterprise not to widen the Turnpike from 8 to 12 lanes. Members say it will destroy wildlife, lakes, history, and homes. Gotha is one of the oldest settlements in West Orange County. and its rich history is evident, with its 136-year-old botanical wonderland and numerous old cemeteries that date as far back as the 1800s. But the Florida's Turnpike enterprise is threatening all this history, said Teresa Schwartzman-Myers, a longtime advocate of Gotha. She states, quote, "Stormwater impacts are our greatest issue. There are no trees planted on these bridges to suck up the water. Trees are great if you would plant them as a buffer, but where are you going to put them on bridges?" End quote. The article goes on and explains some of the great history of Gotha and its German immigrant founding. Schwartzman-Myers continues on with a quote here and has a profound statement. "There needs to be no more development around Lake Nally. Make it a Florida forever land." End quote. The Florida Department of Transportation is conducting a project development and environment study for widening the Turnpike in West Orange County, and a public hearing is planned for late spring or early summer 2022. Amy Questenberry lays out the details in pages 5 through 8 of this week's paper. Now that brings me to a good point. How do you get your full stories? How do you get your hyperlocal news in full? Well, you go to orangeobserver.com. You go to our Facebook page. All the stories get populated there, and you could comment, you could share. You find the big red boxes all around town, big red boxes. You get the old school paper, you put it in your hands, and you enjoy. It's free. Now, what you and I are doing here at West Orange on the Go is a little different. Now, what I do is I prepare before the show. I look at the newspaper. I get an early release of the newspaper, and I select the stories that I want to go over. And I go over them with you. I go over the headlines. Maybe I'll read a little bit from them. Maybe I'll give some comments, because this is local news and comment. So look out for that. This is a great option for On the Go. But I encourage you to go to orangeobserver.com and subscribe, where you can get all the options right there at your fingertips. And so we continue on to our next story. Orange County Public Schools no longer will allow comments on its Facebook page. OCPS officials said the decision comes after an increase in, quote, contentious dialogue that has devolved during the pandemic. While social media has never been free of contentious dialogue, the level to which it has devolved during the pandemic, and in particular the comments here on Facebook, has become problematic. The statement goes on and concludes, quote, "Therefore, starting today, we will be disabling comments," end quote. Now, the great Annabelle Sykes continues her piece. She states, members of the community are still invited to express their views at the school board meetings, as well as by contacting their elected officials directly. However, this policy change regarding Facebook comes one day after OCPS also changed its guidelines for attending and speaking at school board meetings. End of article. Now, you can see the whole article from Annabelle Sykes on our Facebook page, and you can comment. But it seems OCPS, funded by the people, have silenced the people, at least on Facebook, for now. And in other news, let's switch gears to sports. How about our hyper-local sports? Let's go through this week's High Five. Number 1, West Orange and Southwest Orange area schools competed at the West Orange Invitational September 25th. Foundation Academy, Dr. Phillips, and the Titans did well with some top 10 wins, but Olympia's Emily Knopfel won the top spot. Number 2, after having their schedule wrecked by cancellations over COVID concerns the last 2 weeks, the Ocoee Knights returned to action October 1st against East Ridge. The Knights are 3-0. Number 3, the Metro West Conference Volleyball Tournament begins October 1st at Olympia High School. Number 4, Dr. Phillips Little League and Windermere Little League celebrated their opening days after a summer of uncertainty. Because Little Leagues are private organizations, they are exempt from Orange County's ban on youth sports. Number 5, in addition to the All Orange Crate game between West Orange and Dr. Phillips, other noteworthy matchups take place October 1st, include Windermere versus Osceola, Foundation Academy versus Poinciana, Olympia versus Celebration, and Windermere Prep versus IMG Academy Blue. As always, the fans can purchase tickets on the GoFan app. Now stick with me, because as our final story in just a moment, I'm going to explain to you why our local environment just had a big loss. But before then, let's go for our title sponsor, the great Foundation Academy. They are consistently among the top private Christian schools in Orlando. 3 beautiful campuses, 1 great school, all Christ-centered. Folks, one of the biggest problems of our upcoming generations is the problem of character. So let me tell you, Foundation Academy, remember this, where character matters. Mr. James Milton Thomas, 86 years old, resident of WinterGarden, died Sunday, September 19th, 2021. A 5th-generation Florida native, Thomas was born November 10th, 1934, and was drawn to nature at an early age. When he was a child, his father took him and his brothers to fish in Lake Apopka. His love of nature continued into adulthood, and he studied biology and environmental studies. A patriot, he served in the U.S. Army in the 1950s. Thomas met his wife, Peg, while both were students at FSU. They raised their 3 children in WinterGarden, where they lived for nearly 50 years together. No battle was too big or too small for Thomas. Throughout his life, he immersed himself into many battles on behalf of the environment. When Lake Apopka was named one of Florida's most polluted lakes, Thomas's fond memories of fishing and swimming there inspired him to work on improving the health of the lake. He created the citizen advocacy group Friends of Lake Apopka in 1991, and it was dedicated to the restoration and long-term management of the lake. He spearheaded policy actions and funding efforts to bring the lake back to its past glory, including the achievement of the Lake Apopka Restoration Act of 1996, Florida legislation that was pivotal toward the recovery of the lake. Current Friends of Lake Apopka president, Joe Dunn, said about him, quote, "The first thing he said was, let's restore it to its natural habitat. But in the meantime, let's educate the public." Thomas received numerous awards and recognition for his work on behalf of the environment, but it was not important to him to receive credit for taking a stand. It was more important to take the stand and make a difference. In addition to starting the Friends of Lake Apopka and the Oakland Nature Preserve, Thomas founded the Friends of the Wekiva River and spent years on the board of directors for the Florida Wildlife Federation and the Pollution Control Advisory Board for the Reedy Creek Improvement District. In addition to these things, he shared his knowledge and experience with the Orange Audubon Society, the Henry Nerling Society, and multiple Orange County Task Force. Now, the family is planning a celebration of life at a later date, but I encourage you to read this full article from Ms. Questenberry to get a grasp of the giant this man was. I believe it's important for our community to remember people like Jim Thomas, people that did so much. It's important that we remember them for many reasons, but perhaps chief among them so that our future generations know who they were, to be inspired by them, to act in the ways they acted. Our West Orange community should care greatly about our local environment. Otherwise, we will watch it disappear. Thank you, Mr. Thomas, for your service to our community. And now I want to thank you for taking the time to walk through this week's hyper-local news with me. Together, we are more informed. Message me by visiting WestorangeOnTheGo.com. That's WestorangeOnTheGo.com. Also, leave a comment in the Facebook. I would love to see your comments. I think in light of the news this week, let's get some comments on the Facebook. This has been Austin Arthur with West Orange Times and Observer. And until next week, have a happy and blessed weekend.
West Orange on the Go is brought to you by the West Orange Times and Observer. Hosted by Austin Arthur. West Orange on the Go.